Today we're going to go over 4 ways on how to rest your brisket. 2 of them involve if you're actually transporting it to either a party or an event, and then the other 2 are if you're actually just enjoying brisket at your house and you're not going anywhere. You'd be surprised, you probably already have the materials needed to rest a brisket. Now, if you're not familiar with what resting a brisket is, it's taking your brisket after the end of the cook and letting it rest, which is not doing anything to it. And what you're doing is you're letting it cool down, and it's bringing back all the juices into the center of the meat. And then when you're slicing in, you get really, really awesome, juicy, tender cuts. Resting is so crucial. Next to me is the Pit Boss Vertical Elite. She ran through the night. We're at the tail end. The brisket is done. Before we begin, let me show you what's inside the cabinet. All right, we got the Pro Series Vertical right here. On the side shelf, I have my Inkbird, and that's giving me the internal temperature of the smoker and the internal temperature of the brisket. So let's open her up. We have 2 latches here on the side. So there is our brisket right here. She's temping around 205 right now. Above here in this cast iron pan is actually the brisket fat trimmings that I rendered down. We're gonna make our own tallow, so I'll show that in the video. So now let me get these out of the smoker. The best tried and true method for knowing when your brisket is done is the probe test, and I'll show you how that is done. Look at that bark on there, and look at how just jiggly it is. Easiest thing to do is just get a meat thermometer, and what you're gonna do is you're just going to poke it, and it should just slide in and out. You're checking for probe tenderness. Right now, this is saying 205. As long as your probe can slide in and out with very little resistance, you're pretty much good to go. So you're gonna wanna let your brisket sit out for about 30 minutes to an hour. That's just helping it start the cool down process. And while that's doing that, I will take my rendered fat and then make tallow. Right now I'm gonna put on some heavy duty gloves. It's gonna burn the crap out of my hands. What this is a mason jar, and I have a paper napkin on top of it with the rubber band around it. And you kind of want it dipping into the mason jar, and that napkin is gonna be used as a filter. And I pretty much do it until the top of the napkin is filled all the way up, and then I let it drip all the way down. And then I just keep on repeating the process. And that is about it. That right there is liquid gold, my friends. Liquid gold. First thing we have to do before we actually consider the ways of how we're going to rest it is we are going to have to wrap the brisket right now in some butcher paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep about 2 sheets. Perfect. I'm going to find about the halfway point for these 2. I'm going to place my brisket right here in the center. Before I do that, I am going to, this is just water. I'm going to spray this butcher paper down. Just going to get this right onto here. Beautiful. Let's taste. Oh my God, we are in for a treat. All right, now we're gonna take some of our tallow and we're just gonna pour it all on top of this brisket. Just coat it up nice and good, just like that. All right, now what I'm gonna do is just spritz down a little bit more of the paper, and then we are going to fold it up. Just like that. Beautiful. Now we're not done yet, because now we're going to take a little bit more of that tallow and just pour it all on top. Coat it nice, just like that. Super simple. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is a cooler to rest your brisket. I'm sure you have one in the garage somewhere. Get yourself a cooler, and then inside the cooler, you are just going to have a few towels. Now, something that I've learned the mistake on, our ladies have this thing called decorative towels. By no means use those. Find yourself a junky, dirty towel, and then ask your significant other, hey, is it cool if I use these towels? Because I tell you what, After your brisket is done resting, the smell of brisket will never get out of these towels. Now, I'm not complaining, but I just giving you the heads up. Take one towel, put it at the bottom of your cooler. Then you're going to take your brisket, place your brisket inside the cooler, then take your second towel and put that on top of the brisket, close her up, and she is good to go. Very, very simple. I would say a minimum of 2 hours, ideally 3 to 4 hours of resting, and it is going to be so, so good. All right, now let's get into option number 2. All right, now option number 2 comes from a company called Drip Easy, and it's a 2-part system. One is their Drip Easy tray, which I absolutely love. For one, it's a cutting board, so you can do all your cutting on it. Then you can also lift up the sides and it turns into a tub. So if you wanted to do some marinating, if you wanted to season your meat, so it definitely has a bunch of uses. And then we have the Drip Easy barbecue blanket. And when I first saw this, I'm like, man, this is a game changer for the backyard, for letting not just your brisket rest, but because of its size, you could even fit up to a turkey in here to let it rest. So pretty much how it works, it's basically an insulated blanket that you can actually take your brisket and then you can put it in here. It has a zipper, fold it over, and then put it inside your Drip Easy tub, and you are ready to go. What I found is the 4-hour mark is the perfect time with this insulation to then dig into your brisket. And then the cool thing is when you are done using it, then the barbecue tub collapses and folds up so you can store it away very, very easy. So this is definitely an awesome option if you wanted to rest your brisket either at home or taking it on the go. But now let's look at resting option number 3. All right, your next option is actually putting it right back in the smoker you used if your smoker actually gets low enough. Next to me here is the Pit Boss Pro Series Elite Vertical, and the lowest temperature it can do is actually 130 degrees. And that sweet temperature range you want to be in for like a warming oven is actually about 140 degrees. So you can set this thing to 140 and then let it rest in there for 4 hours and you are good to go. Now, if your smoker doesn't go as low as 140 degrees, we got one more option to cover, baby. All right, option number 4 is getting yourself an electric smoker. And I actually love this thing for 2 reasons. One, you can use it as a smoker if you want, but this thing makes an excellent holding oven, and mainly because you actually don't need to use pellets or wood to have this thing heat up. So this unit is by Smoke and Tex, and what I like about this is that you can go from 100 degrees up to 250 degrees. So when resting your meat, just set it to 140, open up the cabinet, throw it in, close it. If you don't have any wood in there, there's going to be no smoke. The only con about using your pellet smoker is it's going to continue to use your fuel source, which is pellets, which I feel like I'm going through pellets left and right. So I do like using the electric option just because you don't actually have to use wood in it. And so I'll set this to 140 degrees and you could let it sit in there as long as you want. You can come back 8 hours, perfect temperature, 12 hours, perfect temperatures. We've all been there where your brisket finishes at like 11 to 12 midnight and you're like, this sucks. Throw it in here and then in the morning, brisket for breakfast, baby. So I'm actually going to be using this to rest my brisket today. So we just basically slide that in there, close it up, and that's it.
346 minutes later.
I don't know about you, but I am ready to carve in. That is beautiful. Let's get her onto the cutting board. Now I'm going to slice down the middle. Look at that. Beautiful. Man, I don't know about y'all. And this thing is still super, super hot. All right, and now the taste test. Oh, tender. This is as good as it gets. Mmm. Mmm. I'm gonna bring this inside, feed the family right now, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Grill Sergeant out.